Hello everyone and welcome to this tutorial where we will be expanding on our top-down movement system from a previous video. If you'd like to see how we created that, then make sure to check the cards. So here's what we're going to be making in this video. We have the basic movement we implemented previously, but now we've made some improvements. So we now have sprinting, and we can change the keys we are using for the movement as well as what key we're using for sprinting. First thing we'll get working is our sprinting. To get started, we'll first open our original script. Here we now need to change a few things. Firstly, we'll set the speed variable to private, and we'll also change the name of it to current speed. A quick way to do this if you're using Visual Studio Code is to press F2 while you have the variable selected. We'll also make 3 new variables. Make sure these are serialized so we can access them from the editor. We'll call 2 of these variables walk speed and sprint speed, which will both be of type float. We'll default walk speed to 5 and sprint speed to 7. The third variable we will call canSprint and will be of type bool. Now we have our variables, we can start on our new function. This function will return type bool and will be called testIfSprinting. Here we will check if we're pressing the left shift key and return the value of that. However, before that we need to check if the player is able to sprint, and if they aren't, then we'll need to return false. To do this, we'll type if not can sprint, then return false. Now we can check to see if we are actually sprinting. So we type if input.getKey keycode.leftShift return true. If this condition isn't met, then the code in this method will continue running. To stop that, we'll just make sure to return false at the end. Now we have this function, we'll jump back into our move function and add some code to the start of it. We'll add an if statement that will set our current speed correctly. So we'll type if testIfSprinting current speed is equal to sprint speed, else current speed is equal to walk speed. With this, we can now double check our movement logic uses the current speed value and close our code editor. When we hop back into Unity, we can see that we're able to hold sprint and move faster than if we aren't. If you can't see a difference, then try setting the sprint speed to something ridiculous like 200. Now we have the sprinting working, let's add the quality of life improvement. We'll now make it so that you can choose what keys you would like to use for both movement and sprinting in the editor. This will also be useful for future features such as an options menu. To start this feature off, we'll jump back into our script. We first need to create 2 enums. The first enum will be a public enum movement type, and it can have the values WASD, arrows, and both. The second enum will be a public enum sprint key, and will have the values left shift, left control, and space. With these, we can now create 2 new variables. One will be of type movement type, and the other will be of type sprint key. You can just name these movement type and sprint key. Now that we have the variables we need, we'll first get the different keys working for movement. So we need to jump over to our getMovementDirection method, and before we add any other key checks, we'll wrap our existing key checks in an if statement. This if statement will need to check if our movement type value is set to either WASD or both. So we type if movement type is equal to movement type.wasd or movement type is equal to movement type.both. Now we have the WASD key checks wrapped in an if statement, we can add the arrow key checks. We'll first add another if statement that's nearly identical to the first one, reading if movement type is equal to movement type.arrows or if movement type is equal to movement type.both. In this if statement, we'll now just copy and paste the logic from the first statement, but replace the keys we need to press. So we'll replace keycode.w with keycode.up arrow, S with down arrow, D with right arrow, and A with left arrow. With that now working, we'll work on adding the sprinting with different keys. So let's hop back over to our testIfSprinting function. To do this, we're going to use a few if statements. So the first if statement will read if sprint key is equal to sprint key.leftShift. Inside here, we'll add our original if statement for checking if the left shift key is pressed. Now we'll go and add all the if statements for our different sprint keys. So if sprint key is equal to sprint key.left control, and then if input.getKey keycode.left control, then return true. And also if sprint key is equal to sprint key.space, if input.getKeyCode.space, return true. Now our code should be working, so let's jump back into Unity and give it a try. So here in Unity, you can see that you can easily change the different move keys and sprint key that you want to use. And if you change these while the game is running, you can see that they all work. And that's it. With not much editing of the original script, you can see that we now have a more designer-friendly script as well as actual sprinting. If you found this tutorial helpful, then make sure to like and subscribe for more. Thanks for watching.